Ever had an argument where you barely said anything, and then 3 hours later, the perfect comeback just shows up out of nowhere? You're in the shower, trying to fall asleep, walking down the street, and boom, your brain goes, "That's what I should have said." And now you're replaying the whole thing in your head on a loop. You imagine going back in time, dropping that perfect line, and watching the other person's face as they realize they were dead wrong. But why does the perfect answer only ever show up after the fight is already over? Here's the thing. During an argument, your brain isn't trying to build the smartest or wittiest comeback. It's trying to protect you. The moment someone criticizes you, raises their voice, or says something that stings, your body can flip into threat mode. Heart racing, muscles tightening. Your focus narrows down to almost nothing. In that split second, your brain is only asking one question. Am I safe? And what do I need to do right now? It is not asking, what's the most brilliant sentence I could say to win this conversation? And that's exactly why people fall into one of three patterns during conflict. They fight, getting angry, defensive, blurting out something they'll regret later. They freeze, mind goes completely blank, not a single response in sight. Or they escape, changing the subject, walking out of the room, muttering whatever, even though there's a mountain of things left unsaid. None of that makes you weak or dumb. It just means your emotions got louder than your words in that moment. Once the argument's over, your body starts calming back down, breathing evens out, and suddenly, your mind has room to actually think again. And that's exactly when the perfect response shows up. Suddenly you get what they really meant. You spot the part of their argument that wasn't even fair. You remember the exact words that would have nailed it. Only problem? The conversation's already over. There's actually a name for this: staircase wit. It's that experience of coming up with the perfect line only after you've already walked away. And honestly, pretty much everyone's felt this. Someone throws a rude comment your way, and in the moment, all you manage is an awkward smile. Then later that night, it hits you. I should have said this instead. Then another comeback pops into your head, and another. Before you know it, you're running an entire argument in your mind, playing both roles, delivering your perfect lines, your flawless explanations, finally winning a fight that never actually happened. But there's another piece to this puzzle. In the middle of the argument, you might not even fully understand what you're feeling. Something feels wrong, but you can't quite put your finger on it yet. Maybe you feel disrespected, maybe ignored. Maybe they poked at some old insecurity you didn't even know was still tender. Maybe you're angry, but underneath that anger, you're actually just hurt. Emotions are messy while they're happening in real time. Later, alone with your thoughts, your brain finally starts untangling it all. It replays the conversation and tries to build a clear story out of the chaos. What actually happened? Why did that get under my skin? What should I have done differently? This is your mind fighting to take back control. An argument can leave you feeling powerless, especially if what the other person said caught you completely off guard. And imagining that perfect comeback afterward, it hands you back a little piece of that control. You can't rewrite what actually happened, but your brain can build you a new version of the story, one where this time you were ready. That's exactly why these imaginary arguments can feel so real. You're not just replaying the past, you're trying to protect yourself from a similar situation in the future. Your brain is telling you, next time, we'll be ready. But here's the downside. Replay the argument too many times, and you might end up even more upset than before. The actual conversation lasted 10 minutes. In your head, it keeps going for hours. Same words on a loop, different imagined reactions. And you get angry all over again. Meanwhile, the other person has probably already forgotten the whole thing, but your brain is still stuck inside it. So what do you actually do when this happens? First, stop attacking yourself for not having the perfect comeback in the moment. So many people torture themselves with, "Why didn't I say that? What's wrong with me?" But here's the truth. Staying calm is often way more powerful than winning the argument. You don't owe anyone an instant response just because they demand one. You can simply say, "I need a moment to think about that. That didn't feel fair. I don't want to keep talking while we're both angry." Or just, "Let's talk about this later." These lines might not feel dramatic or impressive, but they buy your brain the time it needs to catch up with your emotions. Second, try to pinpoint the real feeling underneath your reaction. Instead of just thinking, "they were wrong," ask yourself something deeper. What exactly hurt me here? Was it the specific words they used? Their tone? The fact that they completely brushed off your point? Or did this whole situation somehow echo something that happened to you before? Once you actually understand the real feeling, you don't need some perfect comeback anymore. You just need to communicate clearly. So instead of saying, "You always treat me like I'm stupid," you could say, "When you said that in front of everyone, I felt embarrassed and dismissed." That might not win the argument, but it explains the actual problem so much better. Third, remember, not every argument needs a perfect ending. Sometimes you want the other person to finally get it, all of it. You want them to admit they were wrong, apologize, and say the exact words you've been hoping to hear. But that doesn't always happen. Because here's the thing, some people aren't looking for understanding at all. They're looking for control. Some people will keep arguing, even when they already know they're wrong. In those moments, the perfect response isn't a perfect sentence. Sometimes it's ending the conversation. Sometimes it's simply walking away. Sometimes it's deciding you don't need to prove your feelings to someone who refuses to respect them in the first place. And here's the good news. If the perfect answer finally hits you later, you can still use it. The conversation doesn't have to be over forever. You can come back to it once you've both cooled down and say, "I've been thinking about what happened earlier. I didn't explain myself well, and I want to try again." That's not weakness. That's emotional control. You don't need to be the fastest person in any conversation. You don't need a clever comeback ready every single time someone comes at you. Real confidence isn't always about having the perfect words. Sometimes it's just being calm enough to pause. Sometimes it's simply knowing what you feel. And sometimes it's accepting that the best response isn't the one that wins the argument, it's the one that protects your peace. So if you find yourself thinking of the perfect answer hours after an argument, there's probably nothing wrong with you. Your brain was just trying to protect you before it had time to find the words. And honestly, the fact that you replay the conversation later, that might just mean you actually care about getting it right. So remember this. You don't have to win every conversation to be heard, and you don't need the perfect comeback to know your feelings were real. If any of this hit home, subscribe for more of these simple breakdowns, the thoughts, the habits, the weird reactions we all deal with but almost never talk about.